Hello there. All right, let's get into it. This is a story about a young guy's, well, let's just say difficult lessons in romance. Everything builds toward one big event, the matrix dance, which is similar to a prom, and it's where things don't go at all the way he imagined. Before we start, think about this. Have you ever made a big plan to impress someone or make a perfect moment only for things not to go the way you expected? Maybe everything seemed carefully planned out, but something still went wrong. Keep that idea in mind because the story we're about to hear involves a very detailed plan that doesn't turn out the way the narrator hopes. Our main character wasn't an average student. In his final year of high school, he had become something of a small time entrepreneur running a business selling snacks and copied CDs. He was very skilled at making money and spotting opportunities, but when it came to relationships and understanding girls, he was completely out of his depth. To him, the matrix dance, like a senior prom, felt strange and unfamiliar. He had only seen it in movies, and it didn't feel like something meant for him. He believed a simple rule: popular kids got dates and everyone else didn't. Since he didn't see himself as one of the popular kids, he assumed he would go alone. This is where Tom enters the story. Tom was one of his business contacts from another school, also selling CDs. He was very talkative, always looking for opportunities, and extremely skilled at getting what he wanted. He was charismatic and fun to be around, but he also had a habit of stretching the truth. To show what Tom was like, there was one time he convinced the narrator to go with him to a talent show in a small, faraway town. What he didn't mention was that he had already told people a famous American rapper was going to perform and had collected money for it. When the real performance fell apart, Tom pushed the narrator onto the stage and told him to improvise and pretend to perform rap songs instead. It was a chaotic and embarrassing situation that showed just how reckless Tom could be. So when someone like Tom makes you an offer, you know it's going to be unpredictable. His deal was simple: give him a bigger share of the CD money, and he would find the narrator a date for the dance. Not just any date, but someone he described as the most beautiful girl imaginable. The narrator laughed and agreed, thinking there was no way Tom could actually make it happen. It felt like an impossible promise. A few weeks later, Tom actually delivered. He took him to a rundown apartment building, and a girl named Babiki walked into the room. She was stunning, and the narrator was completely caught off guard. He was so surprised that he could barely speak and just stood there in silence. Luckily, Tom stepped in and kept the conversation going, filling the awkward moment while everyone adjusted to the situation. So, at first, it felt like the mission was complete. He actually had a date with someone he thought was far out of his league. But then reality set in, and it came with three big problems. He didn't have a car, he didn't have the right clothes, and he had no idea what he was supposed to do on a date. First up was the car. His stepfather Abel had a couple of options. There was an old, beat-up red Mazda he could use, but what he really wanted was Abel's worn-out BMW. In his mind, the choice was simple. Even a bad BMW still felt like a BMW, and that alone made it worth it. Tom, always looking for an angle, saw an opportunity. He made a deal with Abel. If they brought the girl over and Abel agreed she was truly beautiful, then the narrator would be allowed to use the BMW. Abel agreed, so they brought Babiki to meet him. After seeing her, Abel approved the deal and let him take the BMW. Just like that, the first big problem was solved. Next was the clothes. And this was a serious problem. His whole wardrobe was basically from one brand called Powerhouse. It was made up of baggy tracksuits, covered in a cartoon bulldog, wearing sunglasses and showing off big muscles. The bulldog was printed everywhere on his chest, his pants, and even in places that made the outfit even more awkward. It was definitely a bold style, but not the right one for a formal dance. Luckily, his friend Bongani stepped in and helped fix the situation. He gave him a complete style makeover based on his favorite movie character, Neo, from Time's The Matrix. What started as a nerdy idea turned into a surprisingly stylish outfit. He ended up with a long black jacket, black pants, suede shoes, and a cream sweater. For the first time, he actually looked confident and put together. But the clothes weren't enough. They still had to deal with his hair. To get his afro into cornrows, they used a chemical relaxer to straighten it first. It was an uncomfortable process that involved waiting, rinsing, and dealing with a lot of irritation. After that, he went through a long braiding session that lasted several hours. In the end, his hairstyle was completely transformed to match his new look. But the result was a total transformation. When he looked in the mirror, he could barely recognize himself. Even at home, his mom reacted with surprise and humor, joking about how different he looked. The makeover was officially a success. He didn't just look different, he looked completely ready for the big night. So, the big night finally arrived. His hair was done, his clothes were perfect, and he felt ready to go. He went to get the keys to the BMW, but that's when everything started to fall apart. His stepfather, Abel, was drunk, and when he was drunk, he was very different from his usual self. From that moment, everything started to fall apart. Drunk Abel refused to give him the BMW, so he had to take the old Mazda instead. That made him late to pick up Babiki. Then he got lost trying to find the school. Meanwhile, Babiki sat next to him in silence the whole time. The mood was tense, and the night was clearly not going the way he had planned. They finally arrived at the dance almost 2 hours late. He quickly got out of the car, went around to open her door, and politely asked if she was ready to go in. But when he opened the door, she simply said, "No." He was confused and asked why, but she just repeated it. She didn't want to go in. No matter what he said, she refused to move. Feeling desperate, he ran inside to get his friend Bongani for help. But instead of helping, Bongani went back into the dance and told everyone to come outside and see Trevor's date. In moments, a crowd gathered around the car, all looking at Babiki. What had been a private, awkward situation suddenly became public. Trevor felt completely humiliated as everyone watched. He felt completely defeated. He sat on the pavement, realizing the night was ruined. But one question kept going through his mind. After everything he had done to make the night perfect, why wouldn't she get out of the car? Then Bongani finally leaned over the car one more time, still confused, and gave the explanation that changed everything. "Yo, Trevor," he said, "your date doesn't speak English." And then everything clicked into place. He describes it as his Fight Club moment, that sudden, shocking realization that he had misunderstood the whole situation from the start. He replayed every conversation in his head and realized something important. He had never actually spoken directly to her. Tom had always been the middleman, translating between her language and his English the entire time. Think about it. Over the weeks they had been dating, the only English words he had ever heard her say were yes, no, hi, and bye. That was it. He was so focused on how amazing she seemed and how exciting everything felt that he never realized they couldn't really communicate with each other. And then he replayed the entire night, but this time from her perspective. Imagine being her. You're picked up by someone you can't really communicate with. He shows up late, puts you in a car, and then drives around aimlessly because he doesn't know where he's going. From her point of view, it must have been confusing and scary. It suddenly made sense why she didn't want to get out of the car. He ended up spending the entire dance sitting in the parking lot. After it was over, he drove her home in complete silence, which felt extremely awkward. But when they arrived at her house, she leaned over and kissed him properly on the lips. It left him completely confused with one final thought that summed up the whole experience. He had no idea how girls worked. He ended the night more confused than ever, realizing that no matter how carefully he planned things, People and relationships rarely go the way you expect. This was the story for today, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.
If you'd like more personalized feedback, writing support, and discussion sessions, they're available with me or with our selected tutors. All the details are here.